We're just waiting to be live. I'm just saying that because we might be live right now. Yes. Yeah.
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program exclusively designed to promote reproductive health awareness and discuss fertility preservation options. Here is your host, the Harvard-educated fertility specialist, Dr. Amy.
She's known as the Egg Whisperer.
Fertility expert Dr. Amy Abazadeh.
And you have yet another success story
Just launched by an East Bay fertility doctor.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Egg Whisperer Show. It never gets old, I'm telling you. So we're doing our show a little bit earlier than usual tonight. And tonight's episode is Ideas for Successful Creative Family Building. So we're doing our show a little bit earlier tonight because the Warriors are playing. The Warriors are playing the Cavs, in case you didn't know that. And I love the Warriors, and I love Ayesha Curry. Ayesha, call me. I want to do a fertility cookbook with you. So if you're listening, call me. Just watch the show. Send me a message. I'm sure you're doing that right now. Probably not. But that's why we're doing the show just a little bit earlier. So thank you for tuning in. So today was a really, really fun day. We had Dr. Nikki Goldstein. She is a sexologist, and she has the cutest Australian accent. And she has written a book all about single but dating. Basically, it's dating in the era of technology. And she provides all her great tips, and yours truly wrote the section on fertility or egg freezing, because she talks about in the book how she froze her eggs. So we had a fun time today chatting and hanging out and talking about single but dating, her book. And then we did something really funny. We actually threw sperm at each other. Like, when was the last time you hung out with your girlfriends and threw sperm at one another? Probably never, because that would be really, 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 really weird. So I thought I'd show you the cornhole. How cute is this? A patient actually made this for me, and I wasn't sure exactly what I should be doing with it, because I grew up, actually I should say I was raised by immigrants. And so we didn't do this growing up. And it wasn't until my first Thanksgiving with my new family after getting married that I realized what this really is, because this is what comes out after every Thanksgiving or Christmas. So if you're into this game and you want to know where to play, my house. So producer Paula, love you, Paula, is going to try. Maybe I shouldn't move as she's doing this. Let's see if she can make the Egg Whisperer logo pregnant. You cannot.
Yes.
No, she missed.
Yeah.
Sounds like we need a little bit of ICSI, right, folks? That is Egg Whisperer humor for you, right there. You heard it here. So, again, something really funny happened. It's always happening in my office. This was yesterday. I was sitting in my office, and all of a sudden, we heard a crash. I looked outside, and what did we see? We saw that a fire hydrant had been, hit and knocked over. So what I'm thinking is, I think Aquaman is here to collect. I wish we had a laugh track. John, can we get a laugh track next time?
Yes.
Because I know that there are people laughing, not just Paula and John.
Yes.
Thank you, Paula.
And then drum roll.
Exactly. And a drum roll, because that was funny. But seriously, I look at things and I'm like, oh, wow, that's quite a deposit. I'm sorry. Too funny for me. Okay. So in order to understand sperm, about creative family building, you got to know how to make a baby. And this is actually one of my favorite books. And I don't just think that children should read it. It's actually written for children. I think all adults need an education about where babies come from. So where do they come from? Well, it takes three things: egg, sperm, fallopian tubes that are open, and a uterus that's working. So I know that sounds kind of silly and childish to say, well, every adult needs to read this book, But this book is all about creative family building. And let's say you're planning on having a child with creative family building. A lot of people don't realize, or they're so scared about what they're going to tell their offspring, how they're going to tell them. I can tell you that there are books and articles and there are psychologists and this is what they do. And they're going to be there to help you throughout this process. Breaking news today. Not so breaking. But Khloe Kardashian has been considering being her sister's surrogate. So why is that so peculiar to me? So creative family building, just to back up just a little bit, involves surrogacy, or it includes surrogacy, egg donation, sperm donation, an egg donor, or an embryo donor. So that's kind of what I think of when I'm talking about creative family building. So allegedly, Kim Kardashian's uterus is unable to carry another pregnancy. So for the show, for the drama of the show, her sister is considering being a carrier for her. So I thought today, it came across my feed, I said, this happened for a reason, so that I can review with you who would be a good candidate for a carrier and what do I do when I counsel my patients about using a carrier. Okay, here's the list. When it comes to using a carrier, the requirement is that the woman has a baby at home and she's delivered that baby. It doesn't have to be a baby, it just has to be a child. So a woman who's never been pregnant before, like Khloe Kardashian, I'd never be a good weather girl, would not be a good gestational carrier candidate. So we like to ask women to carry pregnancies that are, let's say, older than 21, less than 40, with a BMI of less than 30, without any chronic medical problems, and a history of previous healthy pregnancies without complications. But that's not just it. So when it comes to choosing a carrier, I ask my patients to let me be involved. I choose carriers from agencies that I really, really trust. So these are agencies that will provide me the carrier's medical records up front so that I can review them and make sure that the carrier is a good candidate. And then my patient will talk to the carrier and make sure that she also agrees that she's a good fit, and she'll talk to the agency as well. So there are a lot of misunderstandings about carriers and the fees. It seems like it's really cost prohibitive for a lot of people. But if you, let's say, look at one of my favorite agencies is in Idaho. And Whitney's agency is, Whitney, are you watching right now? Can you put up a comment on Facebook for me? I can just hear Whitney's voice saying, yes, Amy, yes. So I'll put her link up on Facebook in a little bit for everyone to see, but that's one of them. So I use carriers that are not just in California, but out of state as well. So there's an agency in San Diego. It's About Time Surrogacy. Christina is her name. She's wonderful. So a lot of my patients enjoy working with her. But I generally work with about, 4 to 5 agencies, and then I ask them which carriers do they have that are available. They send me profiles. I look at all the available profiles, and then I talk to my patients about the profiles, and then we go from there. Because this is not what you want. So this is a story that I want to happen to nobody. So this story was all over the news about a couple who tried to have a baby through a carrier, and they were successful. But the intended mother, pictured here, decided that it just wasn't something that she wanted to be a part of. So one of the biggest fears a lot of patients have is that somehow the carrier is going to take the baby and that they're not going to be able to get the baby back. Well, I mean, those things are, I guess, great for movies. I don't like watching those movies. Those movies sound horrible to me. And I know they're out there, Lifetime, Hallmark movies. But in this case, it just shows that she couldn't, what's the word I'm trying to use, Paula? She couldn't deny that baby. Her name was, she was the intended parent. So the intended parent is the parent in cases like this. So now, I taught you about how to use a carrier successfully. So those are some of my ideas. So now about sperm. So you can't just take your phone and swipe right and find a donor and just be like, that sounds like a good idea. If you're going to do something like that, sure, you can do it. But what I would ask you to do is take that relationship to a fertility doctor. Don't be like this guy. I'm warning you guys. You don't want to be this guy. So this is a long, drawn-out thing, all in the news, about how he put something on Craigslist that he wants to be a sperm donor, and voila, he was picked by a same-sex female couple. They had at least 1 or 2 kids. I don't remember the exact details right now. Paula, can you research that for me, Paula?
Get right on it,
Thank
yeah.
you. did they have 1 or 2 kids? But anyways, then they split up, sadly. And then what happened was the government went after him for child support. Like, he was just a sperm donor. He wasn't the intended father. And after years of being in the courts, and that's not fun for anybody, he was finally deemed as not the father and didn't need to pay child support. So I just don't want anyone to go through stuff like that. And this is the article that I was interviewed for about the swiping right and left for using a sperm donor. So this is actually kind of exciting because this is a story that I want everyone to watch and hear who's considering using a sperm donor. So after you're watching this, go to halfsibs.com. Half, like it says right there, and sibs, no space in between. So halfsibs.com is, what you'll see is a nice teaser or trailer for a show about a sperm donor. I actually went to college with him back in the day, like 5 years ago, just kidding. And in college, he was a sperm donor, and then after so many years, he actually had an opportunity to meet a lot of the donors. And then this documentary actually talks about the relationships and the special relationships the half-sibs have and the relationships that he has with the sperm donor conceived children. And I think the story is beautiful, it's touching, but it also shows that there's no such thing as an anonymous donation anymore. So as these children have grown up, they did tests like 23andMe or I think even like Ancestry.com, and some of them found each other in that way. So I just want families to know that even if you're not planning on telling your offspring, at some point they might find out, for example, like in this show, when they're 18 or 19. So
Topeka Man, only 1 child.
Topeka Man, only 1 child. Thank you, Paula.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you heard that here, folks. Okay, so we talked about using gestational carrier, and I gave you those tips. So what I want to bring up is using an egg donor. And one of the many Dr. Amy-isms I use is there's no such thing as an egg donor emergency. So in order to use an egg donor to grow your family, you've probably thought a lot about it. And a lot of the times you're really, really conflicted about it too. And so what I find is that patients who are conflicted about it, they can't do it. You have to really want to use an egg donor to grow your family. And you have to be ready to see the profiles and read about these egg donors in order to do it. So my approach to egg donation is actually quite similar to sperm donation, in that while sperm donors, you can't see them or meet them, I still want to review their profiles. With egg donors, I want to help patients find a donor with a good medical background, a good family history, and make sure that physically the patient resembles my patient and that my patient also feels a really strong connection. And then we talk about things like, do you want to meet the egg donor? Is that something you want to do? Do you want her in your life? Do you want her in your life in the beginning? Do you want to have an option to have her in your life in the future? And those are the kinds of things that you'll talk through with me, because I'm going to be the one talking to your egg donor about how she feels, about how you're feeling. Get it? It's a lot of feeling. And so that's what it's all about. It's about relationships, growing a family, and connecting amazing people in the world together. So I'm really excited about this project. It's called Freeze and Share. And so it's a new way of doing egg donation. And it's something that I didn't invent this. Freeze and Shares have been going on for as long as I can imagine. IVF has been around. I don't know when the first official Freeze and Share cycle was, but basically what this refers to is having an egg donor donate eggs to someone who wants to start a family, and the compensation is basically having eggs frozen for herself. So that's where the sharing comes in. So I feel like it's a very ethical way of doing egg donation, and then the egg donor can actually choose where her eggs are going if she wants, or actually know more about the family that she's donating to. Because what happens, unlike with sperm donation, where sperm donors just put up a profile of themselves, when it comes to egg donors share so much of themselves, pictures of their family, and they talk about where they went to school, very intimate details. It's very easy to find egg donors now in today's age of social media. And then the intended parents aren't sharing anything, and I don't feel that that's necessarily fair, because at some point the egg donor may actually question where her eggs went. And so these egg donors are such young, generous women. I want them to be sure to have as much informed consent as possible before they're making such a serious decision of donating their eggs. So, great book. Every adult should read it. And the reason is, we see superstars like Janet Jackson talking about their pregnancies. And the thing is that while it is possible for a 50-year-old to have a baby, the chance that she's doing it with her own egg is close to 0%. So when you're thinking about starting your family, depending on how old you are and what you need to do, take time and plan that trip, so to speak, with a team of professionals that will make sure that you've, let's say, looked at all the genetic testing that you need to have done. You've made sure that, let's say, the gestational carrier, here's some simple things, like her partner isn't a smoker. Like that's just one very simple thing that's something that I'm going to check on for my patients. Or let's say the egg donor doesn't have a family member with a history of a birth defect. Those are the kinds of things that you want to know. So if you're looking at doing creative family building and it's something that you want to consider to start your family, go for it. Meet with a psychologist, talk through all the things ahead of time if you're partnered with your partner in the room so you're on the same page. So go Warriors. Thanks for watching. If you come to my office, you might see one of these guys swimming around. I dropped him. Poor sperm. But thank you guys for watching tonight, and we'll see you next week. Go Warriors!
Welcome to the Egg Whisperer Show, a program